So download a Module 4 zip file somewhere on your laptop or your workstation. And in my case, I'm going to put it in downloads directory. I'm going to expand it. And if we examine the contents of the zip file, you're going to see a bunch of Java source files, a README, and a config XML file. And what we want to do next is create, as usual, a Module 4 folder this time. And underneath that, we want to create a code folder like we always do. And so if we go back to the downloads folder, you're going to see Module 4, and then underneath that, you're going to see the code folder. Our next step is we want to take all the Java source files, all of these files that I'm marking right here, I want to move them under the code folder. So let's go ahead and move those right there. And so now you're going to have all of them moved under the code folder. And we want to take the config XML and the README and put those under the Module 4 folder. Right there. So now this is how the structure should look like. So you got the config and README under Module 4, and then underneath code, you got all of the Java source files. So that's basically the layout. So what we want to do next is to import this into our project in Netbeans. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. Okay, so now let's go ahead and import the project into Netbeans. So as usual, you do the file, new project, Java with Ant, and then make that selection. As usual, we're going to make sure we browse over to the Module 4 directory, change that to Module 4, and go ahead and click the next button. Now we want to add the code folder. So you want to navigate to where the code folder is, and you should see all of your Java source code files right there. And let's go ahead and click on finish. And in a few seconds you're going to see the project right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the test.java class, and that's where the main function is, and that's going to be our test criteria. So what we want to do as usual is do the build, and you want to look at the output window, make sure that the compilation is clean. If you browse down below, and there it is, build successful. So the next thing we want to do is let's try and run our test.java. But before we do that, let's take a quick look at it. There's the main method. We always need a static main method. These three system out print lines is basically what is going to get printed, and it's going to read the config.xml file, which, by the way, you don't see it here in the project. And as I said before, we don't need to worry about that. The file is there, you just don't see it in your project, but it is there in the file system. So let's go ahead and run the test.java class, and there's your output. So this is what you should see, 3 lines of output. One actually will show you the local log folder, which at the moment you don't need to worry about. Just know that this is the output you should receive. So when you run this program, you should make sure that you see these 3 lines of code. Now our next, if you see this build to be successful and you run the program and everything looks pretty good and successful, Now what we want to do is to export this file, this project, and get it ready for delivery. So you want to say export project to zip. As usual, you want to browse over to the folder where you intend to put the zip file. As usual, you're going to create the zip file name, and always remember that it needs to end with .zip, as always. And that's pretty much it. You want to then click the save button. Make sure everything looks good. Should be Module4 and then that zip file. And now when you come over, as usual, it's going to create that folder. Don't worry about that part. Just make sure you take the zip file that was created, that one right there, and make sure to submit that as your deliverable. Okay, thank you very much.